Hello, everybody, and welcome to Healthtech Pigeon Podcast, where we dissect and discuss, chat about the latest Healthtech news every single week. I'm Amy, and today I'm joined by my lovely colleague Hugh. Hello, Hugh, and delighted that we have Tina Tan, Executive Editor of Firstword Healthtech, with us today. So thanks so much, Tina, for joining. Before we cook it, how's everyone doing? How's everyone's week been? Hugh, how's your week?
Busy, but good. Lots of productivity. A nice team day for our team this week, and ending it with a really exciting podcast. So you're looking forward to chatting with Tina over the next hour.
Yeah, me too. And Tina, how about you? How's your week been this week?
First of all, thanks so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. I've been a big follower, so I feel delighted that you invited me to speak. My week actually has been all right. It's been quite a brutal sort of latter half of February. I was at the Vive conference in Nashville, and that was really busy. And then I hosted a webinar just last week on precision medicine, and the run up to that, as you know, often takes a lot more work than people realize. So actually, this has been quite a good week in terms of I have some breathing space now, but the news flow is good, pretty strong. We've had some good, interesting news coming through. So, I mean, yeah, overall, I'm happy. And the sun's out, so it's been brilliant.
Honestly, it's turning that kind of bleakness of February into some hope for the spring. It's nice to see the sun. I have to ask, in Nashville, did you catch some country music? I'm a country music fan, so
you can't avoid it. Everywhere you just come out, of everywhere. It's on the telly. You come out of your hotel, you walk down the street, and there's just music blaring out all the time. I mean, for me, my challenge was resisting buying too many pairs of cowboy boots, basically.
I know they have those big shops with all these different boots with all these different patterns on, and it's very inviting.
I know. I think my credit card hates me now. So
and there I was going to ask about the top things you saw at Vive, but honestly, the country music and the cowboy boots sounds probably more on brand.
There was good music at Vive as well. They laid on a good event here.
Oh, great. And in terms of health tech stuff from Vive, what came out of it? Was there any kind of key things you took away?
The key things for me at Vive was the conversation very much has moved on from, I went to Vive 2 years ago, also in Nashville. And I think it really reflects how the whole digital health landscape has evolved. It's really maturing. It's gone from just talking the talk. People are sharing experiences now, and though many still say it's still early innings, but definitely uptake of digital health technologies within the clinical setting, and also digitalization of operations by life science vendors and pharma companies and medtech companies. I mean, it's really happening now. So it's not just philosophizing or exploring. Someone I spoke to quite a few people across the ecosystem, the AI and solutions developers, as well as the users, the pharma companies and the healthcare providers. They all believe that they're moving from, exploration and education to actually adoption now. So I think it was a very positive outlook.
That's reassuring, because sometimes I go to conferences, I might return to them, and actually the conversations don't seem to move on as much, and they're sort of saying the same thing. So it's nice to hear that. Yeah, that sounds positive. It's what we want to hear, at least. Well, great. I know we sent a few stories, and we can on that note start talking about some of this adoption, things that are happening in the industry at the moment. So yeah, launching into our first story, which is about Rune Labs new AI coaching tool, aiming to offer care and continuity to people with Parkinson's disease. They've debuted their latest AI product this week. and unveiling a new subscription service intending to help people with Parkinson's disease receive healthcare guidance in between the doctor visits. So from what I understand, this is a development from the previous tool that they've got, and really adding in that extra kind of personalized piece, which is quite interesting. And it's what I got from reading this story was that they obviously had some quite good stats from the previous product. Last year, the study from the Strive app, or the Strive technology, involved reducing emergency room visits by 42%, which I thought was quite a big stat, and 90% of the participants increasing their exercise, and 80% better adhering to medication schedules, which for Parkinson's is particularly important because there's lots of different medications and the timings can be quite difficult to manage. So I'm really interested to see how this new development, or hear also your thoughts, Hugh and Tina, about how this potentially can add to the service that they're already offering, and what we think about this more personalized, interactive care that they're putting forward, and how potentially the AI part can guide this. The other interesting part is potentially, they say that it's the focus for this is around the human piece and wanting to guide people and guard them. Hence the name of the app is Guardian. And yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on how you think this new edition is going to support, and what you think. So Tina, what were your thoughts reading this piece?
First of all, it just encompasses all the different elements about digital health and all the trends that are going on here, the important trends. So first of all, it's in the area of neurology, this digital health solution. And neurology as well as oncology are, I think, the top two sort of therapy areas where technology, digital technology, is really making its mark and becoming more established. And what it's enabling oncologists and neurologists to do is that personalization, because with, cancer and Parkinson's and all these many serious neurological conditions, it's very heterogeneous. And a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work at all when it comes to treating these conditions. So these technologies really can help a great deal. And the stats, as you highlighted from their studies, the clinical evidence, that's the most important thing. That's what drives doctors to adopt and want to, recommend the solution to patients. That they are very good. It's a matter of just constantly making sure that uptake of this technology it continues, and so they can gather more real world evidence of its efficacy and how well it works. For me, what really stands out? The AI part is everything just basically uses AI now, right? To analyze all the data, to make sense of it, whatever. But I think what stood out for me is the fact that it really drives adherence, patient adherence, because you can have all the coaching elements, you can have the best technology, but if nobody uses it, there's no point having it around. But the fact that it actually drives patient engagement, that's really important. Medication adherence, huge problem, within the healthcare system, is patients not sticking to their drug regime. The fact that this really works, it's really quite amazing. So I do think the solution that Rune Labs is offering is really quite exciting, and it really speaks to a lot of sort of needs and demands for good, efficient treatment of complex conditions like Parkinson's, because it allows for more personalization of medication and treatment. They're monitoring the symptoms, so doctors will know, what works and what isn't working. And I think the stats, the data and clinical evidence that we've seen from the clinical studies that they've done, and also I guess they're generating real world evidence as well, how the technology is actually working among patients in real life, being used at home, things like that. I mean, it looks pretty robust to me. So I think it's good support of how well their technology works.
There's a line on their website that says, with empathy at its core, Strive PD Guardian empowers you with the tools, insights, and human connection needed to face this journey with confidence, which is really nice. But then it's also slightly, I guess, because this piece is about AI, I was suddenly like, okay, we want human connection, but we're using AI to facilitate that. So it's just quite an interesting, to have, show that we can have both. We can use AI to do that human connection piece. But yeah, it does sound like it sounds cool, and it will be good to see how it progresses.
I think that AI piece within this technology and a lot of digital health technologies are that they are in the background. They're the enabling piece unless they use an AI coach. In this solution, it says here that they do use human coaching as well. So they haven't taken the human element out of the equation. What the AI does is probably the grunt work there that's done by AI is to collate all the data, bring it all together, and then analyze it and make it, generate insights that are actionable, that are usable for physicians, and also, to bring to come up with the recommendations and nudges for patients to, hey, today you need to, I don't know, move a bit more, or don't forget to take your medication at this time, etc., and things like that. So that's where the AI element comes in. And I think they, with all these messages, marketing messages, they do need to include the fact that they empathize with the patient. And a good digital tool should have good user experience, good sort of ability to engage the user. And you can see from the data that they have a good level of patient engagement, and medication adherence has actually gone up. So they are actually doing what they sought out to do.
I think that piece actually around the fact that what we're using the AI for is, that bringing together of data and mapping out different actionable insights, is what they kind of reference in the piece. Seems quite easy to kind of understand, and it makes sense. And I love the idea in this particularly that the new AI or the AI can help prevent people or predict when people might fall over and stop them falling over, which I think, great. If we can have a digital tool to kind of nudge people and assess their movements. I think they've mentioned here integrating data from Apple Watch to sort of predict the movements of people, which, yeah, it makes sense to have that kind of motion tracking aspect with Parkinson's disease. And I love the idea that some tech can like help support people from not falling over. It feels very nice. I don't know what you think, Hugh.
We've spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about sort of where the role of wearables and the value of wearables in healthcare, and of course the value of LLMs in healthcare over the last 2 years and how they're being integrated. And I think this is an interesting one because it feels, for I think a news announcement from a company bringing out a new solution, it feels remarkably restrained in talking, in just very much focusing on real data, real impact, real interest, and its potential for the users of this. But I know of at least a few AI-based health coaching apps, who have been looking and exploring how do they bring LLMs into their devices, into their plans, into the care that they provide to users. And up to now, it feels like we're still struggling to look at using large language models rather than other forms of AI, the more, I guess, NLP, other varieties of AI, if we will, in these. And I think after I saw this, I went diving in and tried to find some examples, and it still feels this could be, if not the first, then definitely one of the first examples of it being deployed in a forward-thinking, forward-looking way that's available to users now. And I think if we're looking at the data and the improvements, I think this is really positive news for Parkinson's care, and not the first that we've had over the last few weeks, but certainly it seems like a reason to be optimistic, at least from that side of things.
And something that stood out to me, maybe just to touch on, is the age aspect, because I know we've talked about sort of attitudes to tech adoption in healthcare, and there have been surveys looking at different demographics and how we integrate that, and looking at the types of people that are going to be using the technologies. And Parkinson's disease is obviously typically in an older population. How do we feel about the technology aspect? Is it going to be well received in that demographic? What do we think?
I think they would have taken the age of the user into account when it comes to the form factor, things like that. I mean, the fact that they have a wearable, probably there's a lot of, they've thought about the fact that passive monitoring is a lot better than having the user physically input information and data. So I think, and also I think users, patients, if they realize that it's something that they have to do, they would do it. And again, this is where the AI comes in to give them reminders and nudges to do what they have to do in order to carry on with the treatment and to make sure that they're using the technology properly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's at the end of the day, it's a tool to help people. And if it helps and it gives them actionable nudges, insights, that's really positive. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how this develops, and potentially them looking at the next wave of stats that they might release to build on what they've already developed with their tech.
I just want to add something here, actually, Amy, is that this Strive PD Guardian is not a digital therapeutic as such. It's actually a monitoring system. So the treatment actually is still the drugs that they're taking. And what it does is it just augments the efficacy of the drug treatment by making sure that patients are actually adhering to the medication regime. So things like how tech savvy the patient is, etc., may not have that much of an influence.
Yeah, and I guess it's also how it's designed, right? If it's easy to use, then that's all you need. You just need to get those nudges. You need to get the right kind of building that in. And I think part of this is about that connection and integrating the different parts of the care, which if you can bring it all together in one place, it sounds great. So yeah, good to see that. And yeah, Hugh mentioned obviously they seemed, it's fairly balanced. It's it seems like a very good application. So well, without further ado, I think we should move on to the next story, and the spirit of tech and health tech, and we can move on to the next one. So the next story we're going to discuss is about Unicorn Flo. This is a piece in Sifted, and so the femtech company Flo, which is a period tracking app, is eyeing startup acquisitions following a big fundraise of $200 million. So they're on the hunt for startups to acquire, and they're looking to expand into different verticals, ramp up their revenue in the wake of their big fundraise. So this is quite interesting, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. And they're looking to launch products in new areas with a focus on growth. So they've historically built their products in-house. So this is quite interesting that they're kind of going to this acquisition stage now. It's kind of signaling a slight change in strategy. So what are your immediate thoughts, Tina? Where do you think they're going with this? Do you think you have an idea of where they might be expanding into and how they might develop and why? And yeah, why now with the mergers? Obviously, they've got big fundraise. What are you seeing for this?
I think actually now is probably the best time to go pick up bargains because first of all, they were lucky enough to manage to get a huge round of funding. And whereas it's been quite hard for other companies to raise funds last year, especially, those with what we call like single point solutions, whereas Flo is mature enough. I think they are showing that, their fundamentals are obviously attractive enough to be able to get that $200 million. And while they have fat coffers, others are having diminished runways and they need to basically find a strategic exit, which is to be acquired by buyers like Flo. And women's health is a huge market. There's still a lot of opportunity there for growth. And I think it's really starting to gain traction. Now, we Firstword tracks VC deals very closely. And just in the 2 months of this year, that's already been, it's come second after neurology in terms of like most popular investment area. And that's if you include, obs-gynae as well, companies that look at maternity health. So I think with Flo, they started originally as a period tracker, and you need to move beyond that. A lot of people are, what people want now are one-stop shops. You can't just, as I said, offer a single point solution for one particular thing. You want to offer an integrated platform. And I think ultimately people want a sort of health version of Amazon where you can go to one place and then just get anything that you want with just one click, as easy as that, whether you're the consumer, whether you're the patient or whether you're the physician. So I think with Flo, I read in that story that they're moving. I think they're still around hormonal needs for women, but moving beyond just period tracking, but also perimenopause, massive. That is like a ginormous market, right? And that's been badly touched upon because we've only started talking about perimenopause the last, I'd say 2 years. Has only become quite audible, the noise around like perimenopause. And this just, and I know that like, there are quite a lot of innovators out there that are just focusing with technology, just focusing on this, particular sort of demographic. So I think the sort of the deal pipeline for Flo would be pretty rich. They have like a pretty good sort of like they have fertile ground to pick from when it comes to what to buy. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, they even mentioned in the piece they'd like to build the strategy to become a holistic female health partner. So
exactly.
It's really
like integrated, end-to-end care, not just like, one specific area, but like from beginning to the end, at different stages of a woman's life and their different needs.
And it's great to see that much like interest and cash into women's health. It's something that we discuss. And actually very timely this week with International Women's Day and International Women's Month and, lots of chat about women's health and funding in that area. So yeah, in that way, it's really nice to see what, how they can build this and what this, how this can eventually impact and benefit people and benefit women and people across the world. Hugh, do you have any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts reading this?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that interests me the most out of this at the moment is, I mean, Tina, you mentioned the kind of uptick we've seen in the first couple of months of the year in investment in women's health, and it's sort of kind of contrasts with that. If you have a point solution, maybe selling up M&A is your exit point. So I wonder for the kind of early stage for the point solution, is there that investment in there? Is there something that helps you bridge that valley of death? I guess if you are the point solution, you can't access. Can you access funding to grow, or if you're that sort of early stage women's health solution, is an M&A the kind of best route at the moment, or should you hold out for VC investment if we're seeing an uptick, or is that sort of more coming into the companies that have already got to Series A, Series B?
I've heard lots of startups do pitches and things like that, and I have to say that quite early on, if you decide that you are just what do you call it, a one-trick pony, really, with just one solution, and that's what you want to be, then you should have planned quite early on that you are just developing this one solution and to be acquired, to be a sort of a tuck-in acquisition by a strategic buyer. But if you want to really grow big, you have to develop a platform, not just as a single solution. Bridging that valley of death may not be necessary if you've decided you just want to have that one solution that's great and would be fantastic if it was, acquired by the likes of Flo, or it looked good, I don't know, for a medtech company to take it on or something like that. I just don't think people should, in their long-term business plan, having seen this, I've never run my own business, so I know. So, I mean, I'm only just saying what I think is that you should never rely on thinking people are going to just love your product enough to just keep funding it. And, you're going to slay it at every single pitch that you do. So you should always plan for the worst scenario. And I just don't think you should thinking this is my strategy for sort of bridging that valley of death. You should either say, I don't want to ever reach that stage, or it'll never come, basically. Yeah.
It's quite quite sort of interesting and exciting opportunity as well to see what they can bring together, if they find some, as you mentioned, that kind of single point solution companies to sort of bring that into their holistic view of what they want for women's health, that could almost kind of reveal new avenues for health. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what's brought together and how they go about that. So it's quite an exciting opportunity for that collaboration, I suppose, for women's health in general.
Yeah. Another something else to flag up is that Flo isn't the only women's health unicorn. That's Maven Clinic, and they're a virtual clinic, So I think this sort of reflects what I just said about being, if you want to really succeed and grow and be, hopefully, I guess it's every entrepreneur's dream to have a mature, standalone, sort of independent company. You need to really think broader in terms of what your offering is, and not just, narrow your focus down to thinking this is the best thing since sliced bread and everybody will be using it, and just base, your retirement fund on that one solution.
Interestingly, it says, Flo is the most downloaded health and fitness app on Google Play and App Store in the past month, which, I mean, it just shows the kind of the appetite that there is out there for people. I guess it kind of comes back to that wider of wanting to take control of your own health and have the education and have the empowerment from the patient perspective. So, I suppose it's sort of paving the way nicely for what they could develop with this. Again, sort of leading on from that on the investment side, but this is around Sofinnova raising $1.2 billion euros to invest in up to 60 new life science firms. So Sofinnova has raised this big chunk of money to invest in life science, and they want to support new funds. All 7 of Sofinnova's investment strategies, from incubation to later stage growth, spanning biotech, medtech, industrial biotech, and digital medicine. So quite a variety there, and also quite interesting that it's going from incubation to late stage growth. So, there's a big job to do there, and there's a lot of opportunity, and having the capital to back the next generation of life science companies, they say. So yeah, it's also, the piece mentions the 2 billion that Forbion brought in recently in its latest fund for early and later stage biotech as well. So I suppose what this is showing us is that there is capital there to be invested. I'm interested to hear from Tina's perspective, the conversations that you're having at Firstword and the pieces you're covering, and what this, and just generally you feel like this is kind of setting out for the industry. Is this going to translate into some great innovations being move forward? What are your thoughts on this kind of this new capital?
I mean, possibly it would move a few innovations forward and help advance some of the products, the assets that are being developed. I have to say, I mean, Sofinnova is one of the most established funds, VCs within life sciences, and as you read out, the investment strategy spans across the really, really broad life science spectrum. So, I mean, what I'm interested in, I used to cover medical devices, and they were always quite prolific in terms of backing early stage medical device companies, medtech companies. I've seen a couple of, not all of them, not all the horses they backed have won, actually, but that's the name of the game when it comes to, venture investing. For now, what I'm most interested in is how much will they allocate to the digital health side. They actually launched a digital medicine fund a couple of years ago, and they've been pretty busy with investing in companies which they say sort of an intersection of biology and data and computation. And they're all very early stage. So I think this is when I think those companies need the support of VCs like Sofinnova to keep them going as they go through that sort of early stage of developing the technology, and then trying to expand into commercialization and adoption. So I think it's exciting. It's always exciting and heartening, encouraging to see that there are still, limited partners out there who want to pour money into the venture funds, and then to see VCs like Sofinnova supporting the life sciences industry. But it's how long are they going to support them for? Or are they going to, be notoriously brutal and say, okay, you're not making enough money within, I don't see return on investment within this ridiculously short period of time that they often set. And hopefully that they have become more understanding of how the market runs, especially with digital health technologies. It's not like tech where it's very quick to develop something and just put it out there into market and start generating revenues. It almost take as much time even as a drug. So the timelines, I think what I'd like to see is not just them supporting startups with money, but also supporting them in giving more realistic timelines to really sort of get the technology up to scratch to commercialize and be adopted. And that's when they'll see their return on investment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it can only be good news for now, right? The laying the ground for the early stage. And it is nice to see VCs looking at this place? Because we've obviously seen a lot of venture investment, particularly last year and toward the end of 2023 as well, focused on that post Series A, much bigger raises, much fewer raises, right? So, anything that signals an intent in this space and at this stage is really positive. I think, Tina, like you, it was notable by the lack of detail as to where everything's going to be allocated, right? Sofinnova, I've seen their name attached to quite a lot of biotech raises in the last few years now, not so much on the digital health. So I think it is going to be a kind of watch and wait and see. I will say, I think there's one part of the announcement that kind of stood out to me, which is the Sofinnova AI tool. Obviously VCs love AI, and it looks like Sofinnova like the sound of it to help them actually, identify, source, invest, and all of that part of things. So very interested to see what AI thinks, and maybe whether, we'll be interested to see what they're using and how it all works. But will the AI kind of lean into some of those things and say, temper your expectations? These things do take longer. There's more chance if you stay the course than if you ditch it after a certain time.
Like predicting success for the companies.
AI investing in AI now, is that what we're doing? Yeah, it is interesting. And I when you mentioned there, Tina, are they going to be really hardline and say, where's the ROI, where, what time scales? Because it's a complex road to adopt these technologies across different healthcare systems. And we know that, it's scaling companies across countries is really difficult. Each healthcare system is different, and how we do that. And it's tricky, and there are regulations, and there has to be a bit of patience involved, and how that translates, financially, may not be something that investors want to jump on, but it's nice to see the impetus and then the motivation. And I think there's a general sense of we want this to work. We want these innovations to work, and health is a priority. And there's more and more conversations happening around that, and how we can use technology and AI to support that. And there's such a big opportunity. So yeah, it's good to see the appetite, isn't it? Amazing. Well, I think that brings us pretty much to the end of the conversation. But before we go, Tina, it's any sort of, I guess, high-level thoughts that anything you've been ruminating on lately about health tech. How have you seen it kind of in the last year since you've been working at Firstword, that you would kind of like to say to our listeners?
Generally, the outlook for this year is positive when it comes to money flow and financial support and financial backing for all the innovations that are out there. And there's just so much innovation. I'm always amazed. I've been covering like medtech for nearly 30 years now, just to reveal how old I am. And I'm always in awe of like how clever people are when it comes to developing these sort of things. I report about it, and I just think it's amazing. And it's just a matter of it. I'd like to see fewer. We've seen a few sort of like casualties of the sort of rather challenging macro economic environment, and I hope that 2025 would be a better year for these startups or companies, the scale-ups, to really sort of like get their innovations out there and just generally, help the healthcare industry and support it.
Mm. That's great. That's a nice insight there. Thank you, Tina. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've had such a good conversation. It's great to hear from your perspective. You're reporting on this stuff every single day. You really are truly sort of tapped into it, and really super great to have your thoughts and input on the podcast. So, thank you so much for joining, and we hope to have you again soon. And so that's everything for today. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Tina. And for everyone listening, check out the best stories of the week on our Healthtech Pigeon and Biotech Dodo newsletters. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everything and find us everywhere, anywhere you get your podcasts. So yeah, thanks very much. See you again next time.